Welcome back. You're still watching Power Lunch West Africa. Nigeria's creative industry has been described as a major contributor to employment and a source of foreign exchange for Nigeria. Now, to ensure that the full potential of this industry is harnessed, the federal government, through the Bank of Industry and Nexim Bank, approved a $200 million entertainment industry fund that was in 2011. Wahid Olagunju, acting managing director of the Bank of Industry, joins me now for more on the interventions in Nigeria's creative industry. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. It's a pleasure to have you. Now,
thank you very much.
Let's talk about the intervention. Let's start with the intervention fund, $200 million given out to help support this industry in 2011. Bring us up to speed on how much has been disbursed so far.
Well, a lot has happened between 2011 and today. Yes, there was indeed an announcement that $200 million will be made available. But eventually, the federal government at that time, through the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Olusegun Aganga, approached the African Development Bank for lines of credit for both the Bank of Industry and the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. So that resulted in a $500 million line of credit being approved for the Bank of Industry and $200 million approved for the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, also known as Nexim. Now, the utilization was broadened beyond the creative industry. They're meant essentially to support SMEs in Nigeria, especially those that are export-driven. Now, the creative industry has been broadly described to include film, music, fashion, or even sports. And we are highly talented in this regard, considering that we have a population of almost 170 million. And more than 60% are largely youthful. And when you're talking about youth, you're talking of below 30, 35 years of age. So it's not unusual, not unexpected, when you have a youth population and then to have them highly talented. So rightly, there are potentials that need to be harnessed. Most of them don't know how to move from potential to profit, because you need to be able to convert your talents in an effective, efficient and competitive manner, come up with a business model to be able to attract credit or funding through other sources in the financial value chain. So realizing this, that most of them don't even know how to manage their businesses. If you can't manage your business, you cannot manage credit. If you can't quantify, you cannot measure. And if you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So we're starting from the point of view of capacity building. It's not only about money.
Okay, so does that mean that out of that, for at least for the Bank of Industry, which concerns you, no money has been disbursed?
Well, while the negotiations with the African Development Bank was going on, the Bank of Industry started using its own resources, and we intend to wash them into the ADB line of credit eventually. So to date, we've disbursed almost 2 billion naira to the creative industry to support structures and content. Talking about the content, the Half of a Yellow Sun, for example, that premiered recently, Bank of Industry invested both equity and debt. And then there's also another film called The Flower Girl that we invested in. We also invested in structures like cinema houses and then distribution infrastructure. So when you look at that sector, you're looking at both the production, the distribution, marketing, and exhibition. We're very deficient in terms of structures in these areas. So we're investing in all those areas because they need to.
But would you say, with all that you've invested since then, that there's been a significant improvement so far?
Well, I must say yes. Without those investments, the situation would have been worse. Although we're not where we want to be yet, because you need to look at the capacity of those in that sector to attract credit. Right? They need to. We need to build the capacity to enable them attract credit and manage credit. So we're working with a lot of agencies like the British Council to help in building the capacities. So we're working on both sides. So we're definitely making progress. We're not yet there, but certainly things are beginning to improve.
Okay, now back to those funds, because I remember some of the industry players actually complained about the rules, that they said they were too stringent. I remember President Jonathan asking that the rules be relaxed a bit to ensure that more of the industry players have access to such funds. Did you address that? Or was that issue addressed?
Well, the issue of funds the rules being stringent has to also do with capacity. Because we lend under the Banking and Financial Insurance Act, right? We're regulated by the central bank. And in this country, you are not allowed to lend purely on the basis of cash flow projections, right? We still do, largely speaking, asset-based lending. In other words, credit must be secured and fully secured at that too. So most of them are not able to meet the security requirements. That's why they say the rules are stringent. However, in appreciation of the challenges facing most practitioners in this area, the President, during the 20th anniversary of Nollywood, for example, launched a 3 billion naira fund.
That's an addition.
Which is largely grant, okay. Yes. And that is being managed largely by the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Tourism. Of course, the Bank of Industry and Nexim are also involved in the implementation of those two, of the grant.
Let me paint a hypothetical picture scenario here. I am in the film business or music business. What qualifies me? And I want to grow my business. I'm a young film producer and I have talent. I have great ideas. How do I get access to these funds? How do I grow my business? Who do I talk to?
Okay, we have a creative desk at the Bank of Industry, right? And all you need to do is to approach the Bank of Industry, let us know what you want to do, let's know where you want to fit into the value chain, right? Because if you're a producer, I imagine that, are you talking about setting up a studio, right? If you need to set up a studio, are you talking about music studio, TV studio, film studio, or what? Then what are the equipment you need? Where are you getting them from? You need to let us know the business plan. In other words, you need to spend X amount of money. What is the cash flow projection? How do you hope to generate income to be able to honor your obligations to the Bank of Industry and then make some profit? Because it's only when it's profitable or viable that the project can be sustainable. There's no point throwing good money after a bad cost. So you need a very good business plan. And talking about business plan, that's why we work in collaboration with a number of agencies like the Lagos Business School. They have designed a number of capacity building programs for those in the creative industry. You need to go to them, tell them what you want to do, and they'll help you put a business plan together. The Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, also does this. And there are a number of enterprise development centers across the country, and we're working in collaboration with them and the British Council. From time to time, we hold workshops with them to educate them, to enlighten them on how to put together a business plan.
And how is that working out? Because we still have a high unemployment situation in Nigeria. Many youths are now turning more to running their own business, becoming entrepreneurs. So I'm just trying to imagine just how many of them actually do approach the BOI, those from this industry, either movie or film, in terms of the numbers that approach you.
Well, in appreciation of the potentials, employment generation potential of the creative industry, that was why the President on the 11th of February launched the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan and NEDEP, the National Enterprise Development Program. The two schemes recognize the creative industry and they form vital components of the two initiatives. So we're now having a holistic approach to Nigeria's economic development, taking into consideration the creative industry. Under the rebased Nigerian GDP, the creative industry contributes about 1.42%, which is quite significant, and that's without support. With increased support, definitely the contribution will be increased.
All right. Wahid, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for talking to us, giving us a better insight into the interventions in Nigeria's creative industry. That was Wahid Olagunju, Acting Managing Director, Bank of Industry, talking about Nigeria's creative industry. That's a wrap on Power Lunch West Africa for today. Remember, you can email us on powerlunch@abn360.com or follow us on Twitter @CNBC Africa using the hashtag PLWA410. After the break, it's US CNBC Squawk Box. Keep watching CNBC Africa. We're first in business worldwide.